What's up and welcome to Champions of Lore as I knock over an empty Red Bull can that I didn't know I had on my desk. Whoops. A show all about the kick-ass stories behind some of Idle Champions' coolest campaigns and characters. Every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on twitch.tv/CNE Games or later on your favorite podcast service. Normally be Dave Walters and Erin M. Evans talk about all the Idle Champions lore that's fun to know about. But this week, we have a special guest with us, which if you're an audio listener, you haven't seen yet because you don't see things in audio. If you have
Or maybe they do.
I mean, if I talk, they do now.
Hi!
It is Lauren.
I'm not B. Dave Walters. I do not say words about things nearly as eloquently. I am not a handsome, well-spoken individual who's an amazing DM who is also the DM for Idle Champions Presents Court of the Raven Queen. But I am here to do what I can to keep up with these two lovely people talking about Janasi. Hi.
Yeah. If you have any questions during the episode chat, you can put them into the chat, and our awesome moderator Martin will grab them and put them into a text doc for me, Treavor Bettis, to read to them later. But Erin, who are you now?
Hi, I'm Erin M. Evans. I know, I threw it all up. I'm the author of the Brimstone Angels Saga, a 6-book series set in the Forgotten Realms, featuring 3 of your favorite Idle Champions, Friedel, Havilar, and Mehen. I'm a content designer for Idle Champions, and I play Cecilia on Dungeon Scrawlers and Frida on Court of the Raven Queen.
Yay!
Yeah! Yay! Where all of the emotions happen. All of the emotional damage.
Orkira didn't get to meet Mehen, but Orkira got to see a memory of Mehen, and Lauren is so happy. Orkira is very confused, but it was great. There's like good talks that need to happen later of like, so that's your dad? Okay. They seemed cool. All right.
Yeah, I feel a little bad because this is, like I've said a couple times, this is like the weird live action AU fanfic of Brimstone Angels for my little section. And I like that and I'm fine with it. But like Frida and Mehen's relationship is way better by the end of the series. We just picked a point where everything's really fractious and
yeah, it's like the Raven Queen specifically went after some bad memories for some reason. I don't know why. So yeah.
It was just like, okay, where can I mess with your mind the most?
Listen, I was surprised when the chat, the Idle Champions chat, voted for Vordred instead of Freely in our vote. Because I was like, most of you probably don't know who Vordred is. Everybody knows Freely. And what I learned later was most people don't know who Vordred is. Let's find out who Vordred is. So I thought I was going to get off easy. And that's why Orkira at first was just like, well, this is not the worst thing that's happened to me. So I feel lucky. And then Vordred went super dark. So
there you go. There you go.
There you go. Any DM can go super drop. But we're here to talk about Janasi.
Yes, we're here to talk about Janasi because later today, in fact, as soon as this show is over, the Festival of Fools Year 5 begins, and with it comes the newest champion, Tatiana, who is the Air Genasi barbarian from Black Dice Society. Second Black Dice Society.
And Court of the Raven Queen!
And Court of the Raven Queen. It's like those were connected somehow.
Like there was planning that happened. I was very impressed.
Wait, you guys plan things?
I know, right? It's weird.
I assumed you planned this.
Me?
Yeah.
I thought you did.
No, I just made overlays and came on because B-Dave couldn't be on.
Oh, crap. We probably do a show
welcome to the circus, Lauren.
So yeah, we thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about Genasi because we haven't really had the chance to do that before. I think the only other Genasi in the game is Nova. Is that right?
Genasi?
Yes.
I'm sure if I'm wrong, chat will tell me.
No, and Nova has the fun dual elemental, para elemental.
Oh yeah, she's a para Genasi.
Yeah, the 4th edition funness that you can be.
Okay, this one I can confidently say. There hasn't been a Genasi released in the game since Champions of Lore started.
There are not. That is true.
There we go. So yeah, perfect opportunity to talk about some Genasi, and and as you were saying there, Lauren, there's some 4th edition fun with it, and this time we got a whole panel of people that like 4th edition.
You don't have to watch B-Dave make that face.
They're my books. They're my books right
Yeah, look at them. The red box is back there. That's what I start.
That's
what I
edition
started
red box.
D&D on. Was that 4th edition red box right there?
Yeah.
Nice.
Times.
I would have grabbed those books, except the Genasi are not. I only have the Player's Handbook and the D&D, the Dungeon Master's Guide from 4th edition. Everything else I got through the online version of what now people would call D&D Beyond, but at the time it was that Nexus.
Yeah.
So I had access to the 3 billion other characters, including Janasi. But yeah, they put out a lot of 4th edition books. Like
They did.
I will not. I will talk at length about how I love 4th edition, but there were a lot of things that I was not a fan of, and one of them was the number of books.
Yep.
So I don't actually have the book that includes Janasi, but they are in my heart.
So, where do y'all want to start with Genasi?
How about what is a Genasi?
Okay, what the heck is a Genasi?
Wild times. So Genasi are humans that are plane touch. They are affected by one of the elemental planes. Usually this is because they have an ancestor who is some sort of elemental, usually some sort of genie, just because the mechanics of that are a little clearer.
Mm-hmm.
So
that took me a second.
Oh yeah, the mechanics of that are clearer, especially in previous editions, and where there's a whole many sentences on if this person and this person have a baby, this is what will happen. If this person and this person, I'm like, this is weird.
And if an elemental and a human love each other very much, they actually have a half elemental. If a half elemental and a human love each other very much, that point it starts being a Genasi. So the rules are similar to tieflings, right?
Yeah.
A fiend and a human have a half fiend, or a cambion if you're a devil, and then the cambion and a human will have a tiefling. They don't. We're gonna set aside tiefling rules because I like the 4th edition rules, and I know that not everybody does, and that's fine. You should follow your bliss. But Genasi actually show up originally in 2nd edition in Planescape materials. But they don't become quite as they don't really show up in Forgotten Realms until 3rd edition, at which point they do appear as options in the campaign guide and in the player's guide to Faerun as something you can play. And you have your sort of basic air Genasi, Earth Genasi, Fire Genasi, Water Genasi at that point, who are all basically look like people with elemental vibes. Fire Genasi, I love Fire Genasi. They don't have hair most of the time. They just have fire.
Yeah,
that's a good touch.
Yeah, which makes me believe that Hades from the Hercules movie is actually a Genasi.
Whoa, did my hair go up?
Yes.
Exactly, right? Yeah, you can kind of customize how much of your player character is on fire or not. But I feel like if you're going to go Genasi, you might as well go all in on your element and just it. Yeah.
So in 3rd edition, they're really rare. Like it's not common. If you are a Genasi, you have a little bit of a weird family backstory, or you have one of those like, oh, surprise, genetic recombination. You didn't know it, but your great grandma loved a Dow, and here we are.
Yeah, because that was the other thing. Like, you could just be hanging out near where a planar event happened, and suddenly your child is now a Genasi. Or you could have fallen in love with a genie, and now suddenly there are Genasi in your family. And it just kind of skips
the wish
along.
spell goes horribly wrong.
I don't know why, but when you were like, if you're near an elemental event, suddenly your kid's a Genasi, I just saw that video in my head of that woman going, what do you have there? A knife! No! But it's like a kid like that has fire for hair now.
It just
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Toddler Genasi. Oh my god.
Yeah,
it's like Jack from Incredibles.
Yeah, the temper tantrums. I mean, really, a lot of the player races that you could think about, the children of those races would be hard as children, but like especially Genasi, because they get their element right away, and they're just like, look, Ma, I'm on fire, and now the house is on fire. And now the building is on fire. Look, my hair is on fire. I don't have hair. Well, that's how that happens. Origin story.
There we go.
Also, we should probably just mention right away, because there's going to be 3 billion and heart comments. Yes, it's earth, fire, air, and water. There is not a heart Genasi. That's why I did make the code that, because I thought it was funny.
love it.
But there were other, like in 5th edition, they kind of pared back down to the 4. But because I was reading up about this, it's not even para-Genasi, but like there were also like storm Genasi. And yeah, there was a lot more Genasi, and then you could combine Genasi to get the para-Genasi, so you could be like an ooze Genasi, and it was
ooze
wild.
Genasi is one of those things that I just can't wrap my head around.
Right?
Yeah, they're on the Wikipedia. Well, not the Wikipedia. That would be in the Forgotten Realms wiki article. There is a video at the top that I watched, and this dude going through is like Steam Genasi, Ember Genasi. I was just like, calm down. Slow down a little bit.
It is very like, what do you want? Let's do it.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Yeah.
Let's figure it out. Yeah. 4th edition, the Genasi sort of exploded because you had multiple Genasi kingdoms within the Faerun between the Spell Plague and the Second Sundering. Calimshan, which has long had a history of like having elemental influence. There's I think a Jinn and a
somebody. Efreet, is how you
an
say
Efreet,
that?
that's right. Who fought a big war, and then come the Spell Plague, they came back, and they're like, we're doing this again, and then they disappeared. So all the Genasi that they pulled in to fight their big war are like, okay, cool, we're in charge now. We run Calimshan. So you have a lot of fire Genasi and air Genasi, I believe. And actually, there's a Forgotten Realms novel set there called Sandstorm.
Okay.
About a gladiator Earth. I know, right? Gladiator Earth Genasi by Christopher Rowe, which is a wonderful little standalone. And then you have Akanuel, which is so similar to Time Anther being what happens when the Spell Plague rips part of the Dragonborn Kingdom over to Toril. Akanuel is what happens when you rip part of Shire, the Genasi Kingdom, over to Faerun. And so you have Airspur, which is a big floating city with a storm soul Genasi queen, and sudden interesting diplomatic relations with a bunch of people you didn't know were there, because you lived on another plane full of primordials. And that's the idea too, is that if Abir is full of primordials, well, heck, there's a lot of Genasi over there, because there's a lot more kind of elemental powers.
And
which I guess leads to Ooze Genasi.
I mean, if there's just more elementals on Tinder for you to swipe to, right? Then you just have more options. So why not? Why not? Yeah, and that's how you end up with the mix and match that happens, and the 3 billion different elements in 4th edition of Genasi that you could be, and like the descriptions of that basically let you as a player figure out what kind of Genasi you wanted to be and do a mix and match, because there's so much that's just like, take this one and put those together, and you could have this, and then and then there's also the idea of it could just show up because it was in your past at some point. So hey, how many elements would you like to be? Go. And then you could be ooze.
Oh, God.
just ridiculous.
Really.
So one of the things that you brought up, Erin, between the Spell Plague and the Sundering, and that kind of became a big thing, because it looks like at one point Genasi started because I think it was because of the Sundering. No, it was because of the Spell Plague. One of those made it so that they were basically changing elements.
That sounds Spell Plaguey.
Yeah.
I think that's a Spell Plague, because I think the Sundering made the changing elements and the multiple elements not happen anymore.
After the Spell Plague, when the separate elemental planes coalesced into the elemental chaos, each Genasi gained the potential to manifest the power of any of the elements, the only one at a time. After the second Sundering, when the elemental planes were restored, so also were the Genasi once again separated.
Can you imagine being like, you've been a fire Genasi your whole life, and fire is like your what's in your soul and what you understand, and then one day, like in the whaling years when everything's completely bonkers, like you wake up and start throwing
Water.
ice around or water,
Yeah.
or like the earth rips up under your feet. You're like, what the heck? What is happening? That would be very traumatic.
That's a second puberty nobody wants to go through, right? Right? That's just
Very much.
yeah.
Right? Like, no, I have this under control. What is this?
Mm-hmm. I think it even describes it as like if you go down that road to really control that second element, it's like uncomfortable and painful, and it's a whole process, and it does make, like, I guess you gain a ton more power, but if you are a fire genasi and suddenly you have access to water, like, is that the moment that you just go full steam, literally, or do you?
I wonder if it's one of those things where it's like, okay, can I be fire genasi? Can I control the fire and the water and keep them separated? Or is that so difficult that you inevitably merge into steam? And is there a story there where you're like, nope, I'm going to keep them separated?
Yeah.
See, speaking of story,
Keep two
the one that
halves
popped
of
into
my
head,
lives separate. Sorry, go ahead.
I now want to do a D&D game with all Genasi, but it's Freaky Friday.
I'm here for it.
Everybody just rolls, and it's like, all right, what element are you now? Well,
Wait
dust.
a minute.
I was
They're all just that
flying.
gif of Hannibal from Eric Andre's show looking at their hands. Just
I was doing some levitating as a air genasi, but now I am Earth. Well, this is going to be uncomfortable in 10 seconds. Yeah. It's wild to me how ridiculously powerful Genasi got during 4th edition, and why more people that I know didn't play Genasi and were just like, I'm going to be Captain Planet. Sure, let's do this. Like, it's because the powers that they got, and then you can just grab other stuff, and especially in 4th edition, resistances and being able to circumvent them were way more important and way bigger. And so if you could control multiple elements, if you could attack with multiple elements, it was some high-level stuff. Like, I don't need a magic item in order to make the thing that's resistant to my ice damage not be resistant anymore. I can just do that, or I could just attack with something else. That'd be so powerful. I could see so many Genasi players being like, yes, now's my time. Now's my time. Wait, we're going into a volcano? Hold on. I gotta decide which elements I'm gonna bring.
and that's where the Hades part comes in. Poof, fire.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh jeez. I think one of the ways that it seems like some of this tried to get balanced was when I got to the personality part of things, because I didn't know this about Genasi, but I guess it does make sense considering a lot of the ways that people view elements and emotion is that they are very much influenced by the element that they are. So that fire Genasi, they're fiery, they're angry.
Why can't fire be the calm one? Why?
Right?
Why does fire always have to be the fiery and the excitable and the angry and why can't it be the nice fire that you've got?
The banked coals that are like ready, like that sort of stuff. I'm always like, okay, but maybe I'm just gonna not do that. I'm gonna do the opposite. And thanks for the challenge.
There you go. There you
because as we are fond of saying on this show, like, intelligent creatures act intelligently. Like, if you're sentient, you have a choice. And so maybe there's something to like, okay, well, if something about you is connected to this element in a primordial kind of fashion, then maybe there's something there, like, okay, it's like you have a mood disorder and you have to work with it. But there's lots of ways to do that. So they're like, we're going to define your personality based on you like ice, so you're cold.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
That was.
I just realized their personality
Shaved
test
ice
really
is
short.
also cold and it's very friendly. Thank you.
Ice cream is even better.
Their personality test would just be which
have you
kind
ever
of
had them
Genasi are
together?
you? This done.
Shaved ice and ice cream?
Yeah. You do this. Okay. We're gonna pause for a second. This is related to ice, so this is elemental. You get this in Hawaii. You get ice cream on the bottom, and then shave ice on top, and then they'll put like condensed milk and the I'm blanking on the name, but the dried plum powder.
Oh,
It's delicious.
That
Shave ice and ice cream sounds like like first time I saw that, I was like, is that necessary? You know what? It's very necessary.
I'm gonna write down the outline of an NPC who is an ice Genasi that sells those.
I'm gonna file away that little tidbit of information, and when it gets warm enough, I'm gonna find a place that makes that. I was just about to say I'm gonna make that, and then I realized no, I'm not. I'm gonna find a place that makes that.
We'll talk.
Yeah, I need to go there. But going back, so you might notice there's a hole in my backdrop, and that's because I grabbed my Monsters of the Multiverse book. Yeah, with the nice soft touch cover. Beautiful. Because it's got all the updates to all the PC races, and because in 5th edition, Genasi came out in the Elemental Evil Player's Companion, which sounds like everything in there is going to be evil, and it's not. It's awesome. That's where Eric Coker come from, so it's the best.
Eric Coker was that. Yeah.
I'm a fan. So they updated the Genasi in here, and one of the things I really liked is in their description of each of the different Genasi, they kind of back away from that. You're fire, and thus you're fiery, and you're water, and thus you're cool. Like they back away from that a lot, and it's a lot more about the way they look and the options that they have for how they look. And then they also fixed the fact that some of the Genasi were way more powerful than others. Yeah. A couple of the subclasses were not as good as others, which was sad. But yeah, like originally there was a lot of that weird mixture of your element is your personality. And then on top of that, there's the whole, you might be descendant from a genie, and genies are all aloof and think that they're more powerful than everybody. And so you're arrogant and haughty and go out there and be the best. It's like, well, but really an entire group of people? Okay.
This is a weird nature nurture argument.
Yes.
Great grandma was aloof and self-absorbed, ergo genetics, so are you. Like, I don't think that's how that works.
No, that kind of archetype.
That's not how that works.
Yeah,
Pass.
So yeah.
I think that does bring up an interesting point, is that while in 4th edition we ended up with kingdoms of Genasi who sort of grouped together, it's not considered a race per se, like, because this can occur in any family, right? That so aside from those additions of like, this is a Genasi kingdom, to say something is Genasi culture is sort of, it's a little flexible, right? Because you could be an Aglarondan Janasi, you could be a Waterdavian Janasi, you could be a Janasi who's from Chult or from Akanul or from Vasa, and you're all going to have different life experiences because this is something that happens within a human bloodline, or I guess in an elemental bloodline. Can you imagine being the Genasi that grows up with the genies? Like, you stay with this family over here, and they're like, no, just will the fire into everything. Everything needs to be the fire. And you're like, okay, but does it everything need to be the fire?
This sounds like a Disney Channel original movie. I'm not gonna lie.
That's why it's great.
Yes.
It's either an animated one or it's the live action, in where the Genasi is living with their regular human family, and then I gotta go spend the weekend at my at my other dad's on the elemental plane of fire. Here we go. Like, learning to get along with both sides of the family.
It's like, what's that? The Princess Diaries, where she finds out that like her dad was. It's like that, but with Genasi, but with genies. There's a Forgotten Realms novel by Rosemary Jones called Crypt of the Moaning Diamond, which has these two characters that are half sisters, and one is a tiefling and one is a water Genasi, and their dad just got around. But that's like an entirely possible thing, because it isn't like, saying, you're dragonborn, right? There's this is something that has to do with, a specific instance of two peoples connecting, or being close to each other's magic in a weird comic book origin story.
It's Spider-Man, except he was next to a portal to the spider plane instead
of.
Spider-Man got bitten by a portal to the elemental chaos.
Not a spider plane. No spider plane. We're done with spider plane. No spider plane.
He got too close to Madam Web, and thus now he is a spider Genasi.
I'm
That you're down with? Okay, all right.
I love the Madam Web story. So
it's kind of like Azamar in that way, right? Because Azamar also they're kind of a lineage. Well,
they are considered plain touched, and apparently so are tieflings as well. So
yeah. But
so are like what you were saying earlier is similar to the tiefling thing. So there's it can only be humans that are Genasi. Like there isn't going to be. Like,
I don't know if that's
Genasi.
true still, but that was true for a while. That this was one of the many examples of everybody sleeps with humans. The classic fantasy trope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elves may be the pinnacle of hotness, but everybody wants to get with the humans.
Because like I'm thinking in my head, like there's a lot of opportunity for like some cool combinations. Like imagine a water Genasi Minotaur. Like that sounds cool.
That does sound super cool. I do want to say that
an Earth Genasi Aarakocra, that would just suck.
Oh, that would be, that would be like a poignant YA novel of like trying to figure out like what is it that your skills are.
I named it.
When
That's the
each
name
side of your family is like, do this thing, and you're like, I can't because of the other thing, and they're like, oh, that's too bad. But then they figure out what they're really good at.
Yeah.
Which is saving the rec center.
Another Disney movie. Disney, why aren't you paying us yet to write these movies? Come on.
Just save the rec center. Sorry, that one.
I seem to remember that there was talk of like if a Janasi who's a gnome Janasi will have a certain trait, like, oh, their ears will be bigger or they might be a little shorter. Because I remember thinking like, wow, they got super specific with this. But I don't remember where exactly that was because
I just Googled gnome Genasi to see what
and to be fair, like there's sort of a narrative question and then there's a mechanical question, and I can absolutely see not wanting to get into which things do you get if you choose a Genoci ancestry and also a gnome ancestry, and can you have all of them? But at the same time,
Oh, here we go. So
this
was actually from the Elemental Evil Player's Companion. Seen in silhouette, a Genasi can usually pass for human. Those of earth or water descent tend to be heavier, while those of air and fire tend to be lighter. A given Genasi might have some features reminiscent of the mortal parent, parentheses, pointed ears of an elf, a stockier frame, or thick hair of a dwarf, small hands and feet of a halfling, so on and so forth. So even if they are born of a gnome or a dwarf or something, they're still going to have a humanoid shape with some features. That's pretty cool. I do like that. I think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, and that's from the 5th edition. But notice that, like you said, they stuck with the humanoid races. Yeah. So it does beg the question: if you got your Minotaur dad and you turn and then you are a Genasi, like, do you get the horns and the earth? Like, because that could be really cool.
Your horns are made out of rocks.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm
Obsidian.
down for this.
Yeah.
Ooh,
but I'm also now thinking about that gnome family that had a Genasi kid and all the family photos with the tiny gnomes and then the tall kid. Tall blue kid.
I'm here for it. Yeah. and I do like how much they've in the newer version and even in the 5th edition Elemental Evil, how much more of a leeway they give with what you look like as your Genasi and like how much you want it to show in your heritage and all the varying options. And it's not just hair on fire. It's not just, you got, a bit of crystal somewhere or whatever. So, add a lot of that flavor that I think if you're going to play, and this might just be my opinion, as I play a lot of non-standard races, if you're going to go for one of those, I want to look like something weird. Like maybe you want to go all out and be, wispy and I am mist and an outline. Or maybe you just want to be human with weird eyes. And
with like Pantene Pro V commercial hair that's always blowing.
Maybe Baloth is just an air Genasi now. Maybe that's what's going on with his hair. He says it's magic. I think it's Maybelline.
Are we going to find out that Baloth is actually like Tatiana's secret half brother?
this Court of the Raven Queen just turned into a soap opera, and I'm here for it. I have snacks. We're ready. We're ready. I want that. I want that to happen. We arrive at the Raven Queen, and then she's like, "Here's Havilar. Shaka, here's your joy back. All right, the two of you, we need to talk. We need to talk. I've been holding
Until
something
another
out.
memory you forgot.
Guess what? Hey, you're related. Surprise!
Surprise!
Desmond, why are you here? Well, just to be support for Tatiana in this time. In this time, as we reveal to you. Yeah, I'm ready
brisket.
for this.
I support with pocket brisket.
Hey, listen, snacks are important.
They
yeah,
are.
Don't adventure hungry.
Create food and water is one of the best spells out there of all time. Done.
Sorry, someone just put in the chat, we need an ICP telenovela.
Oh my God, yes. Please.
I love it.
I can think of a whole cast I want in there. That's amazing. I want it so bad. But since we brought back up Tatiana and Air Genasi, Tatiana has in her backstory something that is also sprinkled throughout the Genasi, how they express themselves with the idea that Genasi, and this is older edition stuff, but that they're better than people and they're always trying to show how much better they are, and they tend to do it in gladiatorial style. They tend to do it in like one-on-one kind of competitions because they don't like working together, which I read that a bunch of different places for Genasi, and I'm like, wow, what a thing to put on an entire group of people. Like, they don't like working together.
Well, and that's weird too, because later on when it gets to like the society part of it, like, because Genasi are rarer, when they do see each other, they say that they refer to each other as brother, sister, or cousin. Because and I'm like, but that doesn't jive with this whole like, I don't want to be with anybody thing.
Yeah.
I am curious, like, so
I mean, it's probably an addition thing.
that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder
Probably
if
an
this is
addition
because
thing.
I think there is a certain amount of like, what do I imagine this, and how do
Yeah.
I'm gonna put that in. But
Yeah.
Because and again, like what we say on the show a lot of times, like, this is what is out there, but not what has to be at your table. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, a water minotaur might show up in my games now because that just sounds cool.
Well, and that's
And I
why
go with
the
cool.
lineages in Tasha's are so much fun, because you can now, there are the mechanics to do the thing that you want to do, which was always kind of the hard part before, unless you had a DM that was willing to go, yeah, I'll just homebrew that, or yeah, I'll just reflavor that. And yes, you can look like a sloth person, but you'll have the stats of a dragonborn or whatever. And so having the lineages to lean on means that you can be the water minotaur you've always wanted to be.
The water minotaur that's in my heart.
Exactly. And then everybody can be the firebender and the waterbender and the earthbender that they've always wanted to be.
I love that.
I just looked over at chat and I saw Dampier Aarakocra equals vulture, and I know that has nothing to do with Genasi, but I'm here for it.
there we go.
It's fair. It's fair. One of the things that stood out as odd to me, and this again might be an addition thing. Actually, looking at the classes, it is an addition thing. It was just combat. As a rule, Genasi favored training as fighters, which seemed odd to me. And then it adds on, the others chose the path of sword mage.
All right.
Or warlord. And God, I miss the warlord.
Warlord was
Such a
so
good
good.
class.
So cool.
Such a good class.
So fun.
I don't think that is something that has carried over into 5th edition. It seems that Genasi do just kind of go all over the place. Though, Tatiana is a barbarian druid.
Yep.
So a little bit of the fighter in there, and she does have that like kind of prove yourself thing.
Yeah.
But it's in a way that it seems more Tatiana than that she is an Air Genasi.
Yeah.
And, it's cool to look at this older edition stuff and take it with the grain of salt of, is this going to inspire me for my character? Yeah. And if not, I don't care. I'll go with the 5th edition stuff, and where all they really care about now is like, here's how you look, and here's some of the fun stuff you get. Go, you know, be what you want to be, which I like a lot better. But, you know, going back and reading over how some of these races came to be, and, you know, coming up with, I just like the sound of that. That sounds cool as an inspiration point. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with being the peaceful water minotaur that you've always wanted to be.
Find the lore that's in your heart.
Exactly.
Find the lore that's in your heart.
That should be the tagline for this show.
Listen,
not a wizard. Yeah. I'm going to change that. I'm the producer of this show now. I can change that. Champions of Lore, find the lore that's in your heart.
I actually do want to say that for a moment. So Lauren is actually going to be producing the show from now on. So she will always be here in spirit and in chat.
I'm just usually not on screen. But then the wonderful B. Dave Walters could not be here. And it was like, well, Lauren, you already got to produce the show. Why not just show up?
So we're in the D-band.
I'm like, well, I like hanging out with the two of you.
And then Lauren's like, okay, but I'm like an Olympic swimmer at this, so
no,
watch me.
Listen.
Oh, you're too modest. You're very good at this, so.
I am just glad that you got through all of the actual lore of Genasi before we just got to the funny bits, which is talking about the fact that we can make water minotaur.
Come for the funny bit.
This whole show is the funny bits.
Okay. It's the lore that's in your heart.
The veneer of you know, actually we talk about like, oh, is this an edition thing? And I think that's a really good thing to remember too. Even in the official canon, it's the lore that's in the designer's heart a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're like, I don't like any of this, I want this Genasi to be completely different. Or if you're like, I really want there to be a Genasi kingdom that's been there for 10,000 years, like, nobody is stopping you. The D&D police are not coming to your house.
No,
I promise. If the
Jeremy
D&D
Crawford
police ever come to your house, it's because they want to play D&D with you, and that's it.
Exactly. They're super happy to play in your world and run with your water minotaur, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But yeah, that has been one of the things going back and looking at these Genasi, and not just like the lore, but the weird sidetracks, because, like, yeah, they don't get into the mechanics of if this person and this person have a baby, it'll show into this. But there's a lot of that in earlier edition stuff, and where they're like, if this kind of person and this kind of person have a baby, they're gonna have this, and if this kind of person, and there's a lot of specifics. It's like someone on the D&D team was really into genealogy and just wanted to go down that road, and then instead of like chromosomes, they had elements, and they went, well, here's my jam, here we go, and that's how you end up with like ooze Genasi and Paragenasi and all the other stuff, and so like. Finally getting back to just the 4 core Genasi in 5th edition, but then opening it up a little more to how you want to play them and everything, I think is the better option, because I just don't want to have to deal with ooze Genasis.
Nope.
No,
I don't.
like I'm all like, you want to be a storm Genasi? I bet you can make that work. You want to be a dust Genasi? I don't understand it, but that's okay. It's not my character. But let's just take ooze Genasis off the table.
Yes.
Are you
that
sure?
shouldn't be in your heart.
No. Are you sure you just don't want to play a Mephit at that point? Like, if you're coming at me as I want to be a mud Genasi, should we just reflavor a Mephit for you? Like, that's where you want to be.
It's interesting too, because if you read about the ooze Genasi,
I did.
They're
You should. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooze Paragenasi were also heavy set, but with flabby and sallow skin. Their elemental heritage meant they often had greasy skin or unusually flexible limbs. Ooze Paragenasi prefer clothing in dark earth tones.
I hate that I'm literally fighting these in Elden Ring right now. I'm like, oh my god, this is the boss I'm at.
They were, in a word, revolting physically as well as mentally, with personalities best described as slimy and a predilection for evil. They are, however, resistant to acid-based effects and could cast grease once per day.
Oh god.
Ooze Paragenasi clerics always chose the slime domain, and domains got real weird.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of domains, the real specific stuff. But at any rate, I mean,
what do you mean there's a slime domain?
Oh yeah.
No, I'm done.
Listen, before clerics
I'm
were
hitting the
allowed,
back button 3 times. I'm out of here.
listen, before clerics were allowed to be philosophy clerics, there were designers that felt like they had to come up with every domain under the umbrella of domains so that you had your options.
Would you like to hear a list of? Well, this is 33.5 and 5th edition, so I'm gonna argue most of these are from 3rd or 3.5. Do you want to hear the list of domains?
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, let's go.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Air, animal, arcana, avarice, balance, bestial, blightbringer, cavern, celestial, change, chaos, charity, charm, chastity, civilization, cold, community, corruption, craft, creation, darkness, death, demonic, destruction, diabolic, dream, drow, dwarf, earth, elf, endurance, envy, evil, family, fate, fey, fire, forge, freedom, generosity, glory, gluttony, gnome, good, grave, greed, halfling, hatred, healing, herald, hope, humility, hunt, illusion, joy, justice, knowledge, law, life, light, love, luck, lust, madness, magic, mentalism, metal, mind, moon, nature, nobility, orc, ocean, order, pain, patience, peace, planning, plant, pleasure, poison, portal, pride, protection, radiance, renewal, repose, retribution, runes, scaly kind, sea, Selune. Selune just gets her own domain.
You got
It's
Moon
like, I
and
don't share.
Selune. You got them both.
I don't share.
No.
Skill, slime, sloth, spell, spider, storm, strength, strife, suffering, sun, tempest, time, Torm. Torm also gets his own domain on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Torment, trade, travel, trickery, twilight, tyranny, undeath, vengeance, war, water, watery death gets its own one. Wilderness, winter, wrath, and zeal.
I'm sorry. I started to count, and then you got to chastity, and then the look that you gave on your face, I just lost. I missed half that list. If somebody in chat had actually counted all of that, please tell me.
Well, this is interesting. The 3 gods listed with the chastity domain: Lathander.
I mean, that tracks.
Selune.
That's weird.
And this one's particularly oddball for people who watch Dungeon Scrawlers. Sharindlar.
Oh.
Yep. Some reason the dwarven goddess of hearth and home and bountifulness is also the goddess of chastity. I don't know.
All right. I'm still not over the fact that there is a spider domain, and that's gonna mess with me for a few days.
And that, at least in the D&D universe, makes slightly more sense considering Lolth. But yeah.
Lolth and Selvatarm. That's who gets that one.
But the idea of a spider domain, I mean, take that as you will.
Okay, let's hop over and see what chat's been doing while we've been talking and having a good time.
There are 4 gods that have watery death as a domain. I just want to point that out.
I love that it's water and watery death are 2 different things.
I just figured it was Umberly going, nope, these are all mine.
Yeah.
Don't touch them. But apparently she shares it with Blimdulpoop, Asilis, and Seth. So she can share. Yep, Blibdulpoop. Do you know about Blibdulpoop?
Is that the...
Have you heard the good word of Blibdulpoop?
I've been missing that in my diet this whole time.
She is the goddess of the Kuatoa.
Oh,
she,
that's...
she looks like a well, to be perfectly honest, if you look at the wiki, she looks like a human woman with a fantastic rack and claws and a lobster head. It's very weird.
As you do.
I'm going to have to look that up later. That's interesting.
It's very weird.
So was this before the Kuatoa just made up their gods?
No, they made her up too. Okay. Actually, I'm not sure when that started. Yeah. That may have been because I think she's always been really weird like that. Like just looking like a weird thing that got put together out of random pieces. And so if someone said, you know what would make this make sense? If Kuatoa just created gods by worshiping them. Because at that point we found a doll and we stuck a lobster on it and now it's a goddess.
And then God.
Plausible.
Okay. All right.
I don't know what the order of operations there is, but yep. Blibdulpulp.
I love it. All right.
Let's see. I think so we pretty much answered Foolish Genius 89's question here. Question: Nova is canonically half water and half air Genasi. Do paramental plane or quasi-elemental plane Genasi exist, or how are they made? Essentially, just half and half.
Yeah, they were an
Yeah,
older
they're-
edition thing.
You could also, in some editions, be a Genasi who sought a path to become a para-elemental Genasi. So
Yeah.
you could be born a water Genasi and be like, I also must harness the power of air and go through the effort and work of doing that and become steam Genasi or a air and water Genasi. But
Was that a Paragon path in 4th edition, or was that something you could grab with feats? I can't remember.
I think that was a
part of me is like,
Paragon.
it's got to be a Paragon path,
Yeah.
but I actually don't know. It sure sounds like one.
I think
God, I forgot about Paragon paths.
I liked them.
Mhm.
But
Cool.
And all the feats. Sorry.
All the feats. Foolish Genius 89 comes back and says, question, do positive and negative elemental plane Genasi exist? I'm a
Ooh.
is it an Azamar or am I an Azamar? No, I'm a positive Genasi.
They don't exist yet.
So wouldn't a positive and a negative Genasi, wouldn't they just be a storm Genasi because of lightning and positive?
I like
negative?
Yeah, there you go. That's your answer.
Let's see.
I'm excited to hear about what chat had to think about slime Genasi, but hey.
I haven't gotten to that point yet, but wait, this is from Charke 151. They said a bard trio of Earth, Wind, and Fire Genasi.
I'm kind of
which,
surprised.
that one.
I'm kind of surprised
To
we
which
didn't get there.
evil Emperor Zerg followed up with new bard group, My Elemental Romance.
Ooh,
And I really love that one.
I like these both. Yeah.
This is Carolyn 72. Question, are all Genasi corporeal in form? I could see air Genasi being incorporeal, or but possibly earth Genasi being very corporeal and having fire and air somewhere in between. Or sorry, fire and water somewhere in between.
I'm not overweight. I'm just extra corporeal.
That is mine from now on. I'm gonna get a shirt that looks like one of those gym shirts, but it just says extra corporeal.
Hug me. I'm extra corporeal.
But to my knowledge, no, they are all the same corporealness.
Yeah.
Although they
Plus,
do
that'd be
talk in
pretty
some of
OP.
those editions, the earlier stuff of like, the air Genasi are slightly lighter and the earth Genasi are slightly heavier, but that's on the corporeal scale.
Mm-hmm.
Literally the corporeal scale. Get on a scale.
Cassius 335. Question, not counting babies, is there a surprise Genasi? I'm assuming that this means of like just suddenly you become a Genasi, so like like when they're born, like because we talked about earlier the baby Genasi, is that a thing, or do they just, is it like X-Men where like they go through puberty, it's like, oh, now I'm blue?
To my knowledge, Genasi, you're Genasi when you're born.
Yeah, I think so.
That the thing that could be surprise is, while a lot of this is very like, Mendel square kind of genetics, parent X, parent Y, here we go. That you could be carrying a recessive trait basically. And so you're just, you're some nice wholesome farm family in the Great Dale, and then all of a sudden you have a baby fire Genasi. And what happened here? Oh, well, on my side, my great grandfather was actually an Ifrit, and on your side it was your great grandmother, and now here we go. But it doesn't seem to be something that you don't know right off. Because
even the ones that they talk about, I just got too close to a portal and I got hit with portal rays, gamma rays, except they're water rays. I don't know. They talk about then your kid or maybe someone in your lineage now it becomes a Genasi, but you don't. It's not Spider-Man.
Yeah,
it really is.
I will say
it's Spider-Man's mom.
Spider-Man's mom.
Y'all gave fantastic answers. Apparently, Cassius 335 says no, as in the element of surprise.
Oh.
Well played.
Got it.
Well played.
Here's what we get for taking it. After that list that Erin read off, we just assume that they're all valid.
Yeah, that's true.
Once you have a moon domain and a saloon domain,
There's a surprise domain.
Why
now,
not?
is it an elemental plane of surprise? That's a question.
And does the surprise domain and the trickery domain, are they friends or are they rivals?
Yep.
Kronrech? I'm gonna say that. On the show I mispronounce everybody's name. Sorry about that. Don't elementals have alignment restrictions? Would it also affect a Genasi, or does it just make it interesting backstory about their parentage? So here's the thing. It's the same. Like, if that were the rule, I feel like all tieflings would have to be evil, and that's boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, no. Like the elemental restrictions or the alignment restrictions things.
That's
And
one
also, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that's one of the other reasons why the updates for
Yep.
a lot of not just the PC races but the monsters, the PC races took away they tend to be this kind of alignment, because I think Genasi and earlier stuff was they tend to be neutral. It's like, so what? And then the monsters are like, they still have alignment stuff in there, but it's usually they added a
I think
modifier.
it's typically.
Is it
I think it says typically evil
Yep.
or.
Typically, I just turned to the slithering tracker, and it's typically chaotic evil, with the idea of like monsters being a different type of creature that's more like a, not an intelligent creature that can make its own decisions kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And even like setting aside, wanting the ability to create the kind of story you want to tell, and the fact that intelligent creatures behave intelligently, even if elementals had a locked in alignment because they are an embodiment of literal fire, that Janasi is still mostly human. And I'm sure you've met enough people to know they come in all kinds of alignments. So even if we were to take the stance that, oh no, the alignment is genetic, the chaos, the random option is more on the table than anything else. So there is really nothing that should be trapping you in a particular mindset or alignment from any angle. Like, the lore in your heart. Follow the lore in your heart. What's your Genasi's do? I love the idea of a lawful Genasi, because even if you were very connected to sort of your elemental family, it might be that's how you want to see the world, and so then that gets interesting, right?
Yeah.
Foolish Genius 89 comes back one more time. It says, question, elemental plane of ice cream and milkshake Genasi win.
Yes. Yes.
That's who sells the shaved ice.
And then you could be the kind of Genasi that has sprinkles. So if you want to be like, I come from the place of the ice cream and milkshakes, and where it's chocolate with sprinkles, and then you get to sparkle, and that's done. My next game, I'm playing a plane of ice cream and milkshakes Genasi. I'm gonna make it work.
I'm a birthday cake milkshake Genasi. Elrom 7 has a question. Can you talk about these 4th edition Genasi countries a little bit more and give us a source reference if possible? It went by a little too fast for me.
Okay. Let me find the which book it's in, because I believe it is in the Forgotten Realms campaign guide for 4th edition is where you're going to find this stuff. There are 2. Calimshan is a country that has been in the Forgotten Realms since the beginning. It is everybody nowadays knows the Sword Coast. Calimshan is on the Sword Coast. It's just way down south. Not as far south as Chult, but way down south. And so for a time that was ruled by Janasi. They weren't great. They were Calimshan for a while there was pretty terrible. But so you have a fire Genasi kingdom, and I believe an air Genasi kingdom there. But I might want to double check that. Akanual is if we go Sword Coast, and then we're going to, I'm doing this backwards. So this is the west. Sword Coast is on the west coast. East and south, all along the Sea of Fallen Stars, you have Akanual. Akanual, it was originally from a beer. It was in the spell plague ripped over, And so this also has some cool features. If you like 4th edition stuff, they had a lot of earth moats, which are the sort of floating lands, the sky islands. And they had so I'm trying to, I think it's called The Restless Shore, was a standalone Forgotten Realms novel that I edited by James P. Davis, which features Janasi and takes place in Akhanul, and takes place particularly in the area of Akhanul that is absolutely bonkers because of the spell plague. So they have things like, there's this great big glass mesa. It's a weird, cool, creepy book. Anyway, so that's ruled by Queen Arathane. And she's got like a set of stewards who are each sort of the basic types of Genasi. And yeah, they have diplomatic relationships with Tymanther, I know, because Tymanther in my books had to pull their diplomat for chaos and homeland reasons.
Chaos and diplomatic reasons. Reasons. But mostly chaos. But mostly. Also, I think what we've just learned right now is choose the lore that's in your heart. But if you want to know the real lore, ask Erin M. Evans to give you the lore so that you know. So you have a place to start if you need.
Thank you.
Well, we need to start wrapping up the show. We are getting towards the end of our time. Lauren, thank you so much for guesting and talking with some Genasi. And like I said, you will be here every episode from now on, just in the shadows.
You just won't know I'm here.
Well, we will in chat. But friends, where can people find you and what awesome things you working on?
You can find me on Twitter at Erin M. Evans. You can listen to me with Treavor at B-Dave on our podcast, writing about dragons and shit.
New episode went up just before this episode.
That's the game writing episode?
Yeah, we actually talked about writing TTRPGs.
Yeah. I didn't. I asked questions because I don't do that. But that's
Same.
Okay. You can also watch me on Court of the Raven Queen with Lauren on Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is also, you can see B-Dave there too, because he is DMing, also a bunch of other cool people. And you can watch me on Wednesdays on twitch.tv/Dungeon Scrawlers at 6:30 p.m. Pacific for Dungeon Scrawlers, an actual play show with a bunch of fantasy writers. And if you come tonight, I am DMing again. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But fortunately, they didn't get through most of the stuff I prepped, so I didn't have to do much work this week.
That is the life of a DM right there. That if there's one sentence that can describe prep for a DM, it's like, I prepped a lot and they didn't get through half of it, but now this week is cool.
What about you, Lauren?
Hi, I'm Lauren and I'm the content coordinator for this Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms game. You can find me on Twitter as OboLauren. You can find me also on that Court of the Raven Queen game. Yay! You can find me all over this channel. You can also find me on the Demiplane channel on Tuesdays with DM Deborah Ann Wall as we're starting up a brand new campaign. So excited next week. Yeah, that's all. That's enough.
That's good stuff.
And I'll be behind the scenes on the show. Yay!
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at the Treavor. There is an A hiding in there, and you can find me anywhere the Idle Champions community is, because I'm the community manager, and so I will be there. If you missed, or actually, before I say that part, thank you to Martin for moderating the chat and doing a fantastic job, grabbing the questions and getting rid of some interesting comments. So thank you, Martin. You did a great job. And thank you to thank you to Codename Entertainment for letting us have some fun and talk about some D&D. If you missed any part of this show, you can catch it later today as a podcast on your favorite podcast service, and you can suggest future topics for us by writing into Champions of Lore at codenameentertainment.com, or by just tweeting us what you think would be a fun topic. Let's see. The new event, Festival of Fools, goes live in 1 minute, as well as a new vote for Court of the Raven Queen, so don't miss out on that. Mars's Guiding Hand is on at 1, and Sketching Hour with Lauren will be on at 3 today. So be sure to stick around and come back for those and have some fun. But that is going to do it for this week's episode. So until next week, Champions out.